We are going to see the map bans coming out of here. It's going to be eStar versus Xteam. Garden of Terror banned out. Yes! No shitty maps. Battlefield of Eternity also out. And there's going to be Tomb, Shrines, and Shire. In that order. If we do get to the Game 3, we will get to see Dragonshire. I actually haven't seen a Chinese game on Dragonshire in a long time. That would be pretty awesome. And if there's going to be a set that gets to Game 3, it's going to be this set. eStar and Xteam are both incredibly strong teams, although I think eStar has a little tiny bit of an edge over Xteam.
Yeah, I feel like X Team is gonna have a much more difficult time going against this team. They kind of walked over hot sleeve.
Well played, Royce. Well played. By the way, have you checked the food in your oven? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chinese Wildcard Qualifier Day 2. We're going to be moving into our second set here. eStar versus Xteam on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Oh, this is probably, I'm going to say it, this is probably going to be the best set of games from the Chinese Wildcard Qualifier that we're going to get. These are the top two favorite teams in this round robin. eStar are going to start out hot, banning the ETC. Tank bans have been the predominant drafting method so far in this set of rounds. Chinese meta, of course, always a little bit different from everyone else. You know, when you're playing against the same teams over and over again in a region, you kind of develop your own meta. We've seen it in EU, we've seen it in NA, and the Chinese meta right now appears to focus heavily on restricting the tank options, making sure that certain heroes just aren't available. And Tacit are going to be the response from Xteam, banning that out, making sure there's no burst potential or burst save potential available for sort of double support games, and denying the vision, which kind of makes me think that Xteam wants to go for that Zeratul again.
I mean, I would go back to that well for sure if I'm Xteam. I was doing all kinds of work with that bad boy. Tychus is going to get picked up. It definitely is going to raise the brow of Murden a little bit.
Yeah.
But Murden these days, he can endure a lot.
Jimmy is lost. This is not the same eStar roster from BlizzCon. The eStar roster at BlizzCon was only that way because of visa issues. This is the actual eStar roster that's been playing together for a long, long time. This is the full power version of eStar. This is the Super Saiyan 4 version of eStar. The BlizzCon was only like a Super Saiyan 2. Maybe not even a Super Saiyan. Maybe just like a Saiyan version of eStar. This is the full power version, and eStar going to respond to the Zeratul Tychus pickups with Malf, Li Ming. The Malf is actually a deny in some ways because Roots are such a crazy good follow-up to VPs, and Li Ming's burst is going to put a lot of pressure onto Zeratul whenever he shows his face. Xteam going to ban out the Chen, focusing on the solo laners, and eStar going to respond immediately with Johanna. Ban Johanna, the best of the rest, really the best remaining tank for Tomb of the Spider Queen, with EDC banned out and Muradin picked up.
I'm surprised to see the Chin ban here. I mean, it definitely makes sense. We just haven't really, I haven't really seen it show up a lot.
Well, you kind of want to go like with. There's something about ETC and Muradin that people miss, which is that they're the only good solo tanks. You can pick up a melee assassin with ETC or Muradin on your team, and that melee assassin's going to be fine. But if you pick up a Tyrael, only certain melee assassins will work. If you pick up a Johanna, only certain melee assassins work, or you want a secondary tank. So by banning out those tanks and restricting those options, you kind of force into a double warrior composition. So by banning Chen out, they are forcing them into something like a Zarya instead, which we do see picked up. This is actually going to make Zeratul the solo laner / roamer. It's going to be an interesting dynamic from Xteam to try and manage all their lanes against the style composition, and Leoric is going to just be able to double soak during turn-ins. Well, eStar does get a 4-man push going in the lane of their choice. It's going to be a difficult dynamic to deal with.
I feel like Zeratul's really underrated as a solo laner. He has a generous amount of wave clear with his cleave. There's good solid auto attack damage, and if things get dicey, he can teleport out. So I agree. I think we will see him hanging out in the bot lane. It can't be Zarya. That's I would be triggered if Zarya was down there by themselves.
Zarya essentially misses a third of her kit. Like, a little bit more than a third. If she doesn't have an ally to shield, she's not only missing that ability to save people from damage, but she's also not getting as much energy. But we are going to get into the game. The draft ends and the game starts. The Chinese are on the ball when it comes to getting things rolling. Once they start rolling, sometimes we have a little bit of a delay with extra commercials thrown in there, but whatever, it's fine. We are going to have eStar on the left and Xteam on the right. The final composition, Muradin, Leoric for that front line, Leeming for the burst, Sylvanas for the pressure, and Mal for the support, versus Tyrael Zarya for that front line, Zeratul for the roam, the stealth, the annoying. Tychus, a lot on his shoulders, going to be the primary damage dealer in this composition, and Lightning Bond on Rhaegar going to be the support and some of the wave clear.
They isolate Zarya the hard way. All 5 members of eStar are going to greet Zarya. Welcome to the game.
I said something just a second ago about Zarya never wanting to be alone. There's more than one reason for that. It's not just that you're missing a part of her kit. It's that without mobility, she's just a sitting duck. And not in a delicious duck is good way, but in a you're just gonna die horribly sort of way. Jukes for days from the Rhaegar player here. Make sure Muradin does not get that Stormbolt stack. And he does go perfect storm at level 1, so he is looking to hit those Qs constantly for that late game damage. We are going to see Tychus, Tyrael in the bot lane. We're getting full value out of that Drain Hope. Hopelessness getting a ton of value there. And then as soon as it's about to end, Wraith walks away. That is just some perfectly timed Leoric play. Not something we get to see a whole ton of, but when we do see good Leoric play, it makes me very happy.
The rotation's been heavy and precise from eStar so far. Pretty tight-knit unit. The 2-1-2 setup for Xteam, it got the kill on Zarya, so I'm wondering if they're going to try to keep this pattern.
Yeah, I don't like a 2-1-2-1-2 with the Spider Queen. It's just too small a map. We are going to see Kano Jin actually eating that Li Ming Orb on purpose to get his energy up. That's pretty standard Zarya strategy, but Zarya went that maximum charge at level 1 and has not yet managed to get over 70 energy to even start the quest timer ticking. And she's forced to play back, can't, for instance, walk up and get those free shots from towers to get the energy because she just can't afford to be that far forward with the current laning arrangement that Xteam has decided on. But we are going to see, grenades will allow delay. They will have the goaltending purposes in the latter half of the game. That is going to be extremely handy if they can get their lanes under control. But if they can never get their lanes under control, if they're always feeling this pressure, then that Zarya pickup is actually going to end up being a huge liability.
I'm actually surprised to see Xteam approach the game like this by allowing eStar to rotate around as 4, and we're going to see them likely get the kill on Zeratul. He goes down. They're putting themselves in a position where they're always going to be outnumbered in these team fights. They're just finding themselves caught out of position, and I don't know what they're waiting for.
I do not know. Maybe they're just trying to get to 10. Maybe they think if they just are careful not to miss any soak in any of the lanes and don't die, and they can get to 10. But they're putting themselves in a position where they're not going to be able to deny the turn-ins. And if eStar just gets 3 consecutive turn-ins, they're going to win the race to 10, and they're going to be able to abuse that incredibly hard. You can't just let a team as good as eStar bully you this early on in the game, because you're gonna catch someone out of position. We did see that jump in with the Muradin Stormbolt into the root, did finish off Zeratul. We're going to see crowd control again from Muradin. I think, again, this is the map. If you're on Infernal Shrines, Braxis Holdout, or Tomb of the Spider Queen, you go crowd control on Muradin 100% of the time. And if you're up against 3 melee heroes, you go crowd control 100% of the time. That's 2 for 2, right? You're up against 3 melee heroes on this map, although Zeratul kind of doesn't count. And you're on Tomb of the Spider Queen, so it's a mandatory pickup here. Paradise going to get low and then disengage. And we're going to see a chase here onto Malfurion. He does end up going down, as does Sylvanas. And the grenades, the particle grenades, the Zarya pickup finally doing some work.
They're showing some signs of life. They're going to wake up and get a couple of kills. Nicely done for them. 10 gems in the pockets for eStar, so they could look to get a turn in potentially. But 24 is in the pockets for Xteam. 13 looking like they're going to get turned in. Oh, wait. Am I ahead of you again?
A little bit. Take a few seconds. Not that big. We're going to see the healing totem picked up at level 4 for Rhaegar. You think about that, it's beautiful for this team. Tyrael and Zarya both have very high health pools. Tychus has the highest health pool of any ranged assassin, basically. That's going to get a ton of value going into the late game. We're going to see another isolation onto Rhaegar. He ends up going down again. And these Stormbolts into the roots have just been amazing. Every single one so far, I think, has resulted in a kill.
Well, I mean, I can get why they like to ban out Murd and ETC at the start, but when it's high-level play like this, you have an easy way to start up a lock, set a CC on somebody's face. Stormbolt's been a problem.
Yeah. And Skullcracker going to be picked up from Murd as well, so going for all the new talents. Aussie and Renewal for Leoric, though, that feels bad. I don't like this build. It is the highest sort of self-sustained version of Leoric, but he gives up Ghastly Reach for the additional wave clear. He gives up Paralyzing Rage for the playmaking potential for the slow. We're going to see Cleanse picked up from Malfurion and Rhaegar, though. Quarterback, pretty center talents across the board. Otherwise, we're going to see, again, that Secret in the Dark. We're going to see an attempt to get some damage onto Leoric here, but Leoric just training Tyrael. Wind is forced to back away, and XT Paradise will eventually kill this Webweaver, but the middle fort is already going to be gone. That Sylvanas push is absolutely devastating, and Kendo Jin on Zarya actually going to eat a bunch of damage from the Webweaver push. Bottom fort does get cleared up as bottom Webweaver, excuse me, does get cleared up. So it's just the mid one left, but it did push extremely far in, and eStar got a full level lead off the back of the kills plus that Webweaver push.
Normally, I'm always looking to see Leoric act as mainly a punching bag in these competitive games, but he's really been holding on.
Yeah, and this is the way you use Leoric on this map. He is one of the heroes that has good enough wave clear to do the double soak trick, but he actually has the ability to do the double soak, and he has an escape. Unlike, say, Azul, who can get rotated on and picked off, Leoric can just get away, and if he does die, he comes right back, goes right back to soaking. You're not going to miss that experience. So the Sylvanas can be pushed in with As4 and guarded, while you don't miss any experience. And when you have those Webweaver waves, that's a huge advantage. They are going to pick up 10 off the back of that, 10 to 9, and they are 7 gems from turn-in. That's 1 on them and 6 to pick up. Basically just one wave in 2 lanes away. We're going to see a beautiful cleanse on a Paradise. Does save him from that Li Ming combo. Did get rooted for free. Tychus, however, overextended here, might end up going down with the Entomb. He is 100% dead. There's no way that he was literally put in a box. He couldn't even have walked out of that because it was around the wall. That is one of the best Entombs I have ever seen. And Zarya going to go down as well. eStar putting on a clinic of how to play Tomb of the Spider Queen.
And it's been crazy to see. Like, we saw Xteam look absolutely dominant going up against Hots Lady, and now they're on the receiving end, getting paddled so far on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, I mean, really, I wasn't expecting Xteam to end up this far behind. I feel like their early game decision making is questionable. That's one of the primary reasons they are quite this far behind. It's going to be consecutive turning for eStar, but if you're thinking about it, if Xteam is as far ahead of... If eStar is as far ahead of Xteam as Xteam is far ahead of Hots Lady, that means there's a huge skill gap in the current top Chinese teams, which is interesting to think about. Because we have seen that in other scenes as well, where there's teams that are not quite at the same level. Paradise is going to eat that Ancestral, allowing him to go back in. Odin is up here. This is going to allow Tychus to get a lot of long-range pressure on. They are going to try and focus the Murden down, but he does jump out in time. And just gets away. He's absolutely fine. He's going to tap and re-engage. And the Webweavers are going to push in another tomb around the wall, but Sank actually going to come down outside the entomb to save Zarya. Zarya was just going to stand there and shoot anyway. Might as well make her immune to damage while they're doing it. And Expulsion Zone is going to come up here momentarily. If they stay a little bit too long, they might be able to isolate someone and get the kill. No, Murden jumps out. Li Ming throws out her combo for the zoning. We are going to see Tyrael trying to clear the mid lane. But Leoric just going to push in and keep doing that soak, making sure they get that experience, and they do end up getting the Tychus with the root. Sylvanas did die earlier on as well, so that ends up being a 1-for-1 in that overall arch of the team fight. That was a long team fight.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Ooh. And when I said that was a long team fight, I meant it was still going on. Entomb actually going to be used twice in the same team fight. Entomb is a 55-second cooldown, I believe.
Mm-hmm. 50 seconds.
50 seconds? Wow. A fight goes on long enough that you get to use the same heroic twice in a team fight. That's a long fight.
That expulsion zone was pretty lazy, though. Like, Murden tried to dwarf toss over and got knocked right back. I don't think I've ever seen that one. That was pretty fun.
Now, you just haven't played in Zarya. Playing Zarya, you'll see a lot of that. That is going to be all the forts down for eStar, but Xteam finally going to get their first turn in. This is really only going to depush their lanes. They're probably not going to get very much structure damage off of this. The pursuit of Paradise is real, but he blinks over the wall. He gets away. He's going to be absolutely fine. And Xteam, despite the fact that they got the turn in, is still very much on the back foot. 10 kills to 4, all their forts gone. All this is going to do, as I said earlier, is depush their lanes, and they need that. They need to relieve the pressure, but it feels so bad to only turn in to get your web weavers just to depush your lanes as opposed to actually getting structure damage.
I mean, and also considering that there are towers still on the side of eStar that are alive and well, that's a pretty big resource just to try to stall the game out. They do get their level 13 talents, and they're going to look to engage.
No big surprises really on the Expulsion Zone actually denying the retreat. Malfurion is going to get forced to ice block here. Sanctification for the save after the Entomb. And the fight is just going to actually be a brawl, 5v5 in the middle lane. Wind does get ancestral. We're going to see a VP in the backline. Leoric trying to get inside of it so he does not go down. The mistimed Tychus abilities on Odin, but Leoric's going to go down regardless. And he will try and keep everyone slowed and come back to life as quickly as possible. We are going to see everyone retreat behind the wall. Paradise does get out, try to make an aggressive play, and then blinked out. He is going to be absolutely fine. The top web weaver is gone. The bottom web weaver is still pushing in, but it's almost dead of its own accord. Did get bottom fort, and Xteam in the end actually evened out a little tiny bit. They were more than a level behind, and now they're about a half a level behind.
It almost feels like they're playing a little timid. Like, in the early game, they for sure were playing timid, but now they're starting to be like, we can actually make plays and get some kills. So I'm wondering if that's going to inspire them to be a little more aggressive, and that's exactly what they're going to need to do if they're going to try to take this set.
I actually see Burning Rage picked up for Leoric, so he's going, again, drafted exclusively as a double soaking wave clear hero. Burning Rage gives him exceptional wave clear when combined with his Q. And Imposing Will going to be picked up for Tyrael. This is a huge power spike for Xteam. They now have a lot more peel, a lot more chase potential, a lot more denial. Urshield as well, going to give Rhaegar a lot more sustained healing on these high health targets. Tyrael, Tychus, and Zarya all have reasonable health pools. Mending Blades picked up for Zeratul. And they're getting closer and closer and closer to the massive power spikes that they're really going to have at 16. A lot of X-Team's heroes have really powerful talents at 16 that are going to help them out quite a bit. They're just trying to maintain parity for the moment, but they're still a level behind. And eStar going to pick up 16, which means eStar is going to be the one looking to be aggressive here for the next minute or so.
They should have pretty much a turn in as well in gems, so they could definitely look to press some kind of advantage. Xteam is still a full level away pretty much before they get on even talent tiers. I would imagine we would see eStar look to make something happen off of this.
I'm going to say eStar is actually passively soaking until they can get enough gems for turn in, and then they're going to turn in, and then they're going to push in. We see Sylvanas rotating to the bot. She's going to grab Siege. This is going to be Web Weavers plus Siege for the push. There's going to be a lot of danger in the bottom lane. The bottom lane is not the most important, but anytime you start to lose a keep, it feels bad because that catapult pressure becomes a constant thing. Muradin did give him the axe, so he's going to have an independent kill potential. Imposing Presence is the pickup for the Orc. That's going to help him a lot versus Tychus. And it looks like they're going to try and chase down Zarya. She is going to get away for the moment. It was mounted. And they're just going to wait now, push in the lanes for the Web Weavers, get them as far up as possible. We see the Orc in the bot lane already doing that. That's just going to be a lot of lane pressure. And Sylvanas pushing into the mid lane, disabling the tower, going to try and increase the value of this Web Weaver as much as possible. We do see Zeratul looking for the flank, looking for that big VP in the back. eStar Panda H actually thinking about it. He is checking that bush with Moonfire. Air Paradise did manage to dodge it, but they know he's there now. They kind of have that sense. Paradise is like, I'm not going to risk that. He's still shrugging around, though. He's still shrugging around. Zeratul with the reveal. The shield ally does come down. He's still looking for that flank, still looking for it, but not going to be able to get it. Does just blink past. Expulsion Zone splits the team a little bit, but Muradin in the front there, he's going to be absolutely fine. And we are going to see a beautiful Wailing Arrow. That bottom push is almost going to secure the keep on its own if they don't deal with it soon. Mid keep is extremely low, and eStar just going to be patient, though. They're going to back up. They're not going to be overly greedy.
That push cost Xteam quite a bit, but they do manage to hang on to their keeps, so they don't have to worry about catapults. But if they lose a team fight in any sort of decisive manner, you can believe eStar is going to take that easy stroll over and end this game.
On the other hand, eStar, 18 to 16 right now, but they're 50 gems away from having another turn in. It takes a long time to collect 50 gems. They really do want to get those keep, though, so they're just going to hang out. They're going to hide in this bush. They're going to do the standard Chinese bush meta, the death bush, and just wait until Xteam. Nope, they gave up. They got impatient. They're like, oh, well, how about we don't do that? How about we just clear the wave instead? That's not going good. Me going to do the Windrunner shenanigans, root into stun this time. That is not something you see very often. Skullcracker getting a little bit of value, though. Entomb sort of splitting the fight, not intended to go and actually isolate anyone that is just intended almost as a force wall use of Entomb to make this fight a little bit more awkward for Xteam to pursue. The zoning route comes down. We are going to see Murden throwing out Stormbolt. That's pretty much just a Stormbolt for the free stack and to disengage for free. Not having to use jump, he can literally just walk away. And Kenshin, again, with that critical timing on his self-shield, absorbs a Li Ming combo, ends up at full energy for this fight, and I believe his quest is now finished, it looks like, based on the number of energy bars that he has on his character. And we're going to see Sentenced to Death at 16 for Zeratul. So going for that increased damage, we're going to see Gain Train for Zarya, more shields, more damage denial. Holy Ground going to do a lot of isolation for Xteam. They have a lot of really powerful tools now. Murden just going deep into this backline, and I don't think you can 1v1 Zarya, but you certainly cannot 2v1. And again, another Entomb Sanctification comes down immediately for the denial, though. Leoric forced to back up. And this fight is getting brutal in the way everyone is spread out.
It's kind of crazy to think that no one's gone down just yet. Zarya's been pretty much full energy at every critical point in this game. I definitely would tip my hat to them. They're placing these shields quite well.
They are indeed. And all this time, Xteam, they've been pursuing this fight because they desperately want to turn in. But you think about where this fight's been going on. It's been going on Xteam's side of the map, really far away from the turn-ins. eStar is doing the ultimate aggressive version of goaltending here. They're not even letting them get near the turn-ins, much less actually get a turn-in. Tyrion's going to get absolutely chunked. He does manage to save himself with Holy Ground, get the disengage. Shield ally coming in as a factor there as well. Wind is going to hard for full health and full mana and try and re-engage. I actually feel like they need Sanctification or VP to take these fights. They need those really high impact heroics, and they're just not going to be available for 20 seconds or so. And in the meantime, 20 seconds, eStar might be able to hit 20, and then Xteam's not going to want to take a fight at all. So they're on a clock.
Absolutely. I mean, level 20 gets picked up. Those keeps in the middle and bottom lane have practically no health. This will be the definition of a power play with this kind of tier advantage.
And we do see Zarya trying to turn in. She does have enough, but Li Ming poke 4 days. They're going to be forced to back up. 20 finally picked up for eStar, and Xteam just gives it up. They back all the way up. They're like, okay, we're not going to get turned in. That's not how this is going to work. We're going to have to wait. So 20, maybe we can sneak it if someone's not paying attention. But eStar actually getting perilously close to having yet another turn in. If they get another turn in, they get a third consecutive turn in. That is going to be the bottom end mid keeps for sure, and possibly top keep as well. It would not surprise me if they could get all 3 keeps if they get that next turn in.
The advantages that eStar have been taking advantage, like the early game has gotten them into a huge lead, and it puts Xteam in a really weird spot. They can't afford to go out too far and try to soak these lanes, but they also don't have much in the way of structure to keep themselves alive, so they're just kind of like outside of their keeps, but they know they can't go too far out. That's tough.
4 more gems need to be turned in, 3 more need to be picked up, and eStar will get their next turn, and I think that's going to be relatively easy for them to do. We even see some cool Windrunner plays. Sylvanas Windrunner's over a wave, picks up the gem, and then Windrunner's back, making sure she's not visible to the wave for very long, so it's going to be harder to rotate onto her. Just playing extremely safe. Extremely safe play, but making sure they get those gems even on the most pushed in lanes. And Hardened Shield, Bolt of the Storm, and the upgrade to Disintegrate. Temporal Flux going to be the pickups at 20 for eStar. And they're actually getting turn in and doing boss. I think this might be a little too greedy versus Ethereal. They do let it leash as soon as everyone's aware. We do see the Entomb coming down, splitting the fight. Zeratul blinks on top of the root. I don't think he wanted to do that. Is going to be forced to get Ancestral there. He does live through it in the end. And Wind is extremely low in the back. Does Ancestral, but he's 100% going to go down. No possibility he lives through that. The Webweavers are going to come in, and as I said, they're going to be able to force this fight top. And if they get the picks, this is going to be top keep, mid keep, and bottom keep. And he's probably even core, honestly, if this fight keeps going the way it has been going. We are going to see a heal coming down onto the Odin. He does have resistance, taking 25% less damage, so that's not going to be enough. Sylvanas Paradise, again, at the outplay, manages to get away, but if you're the only person on your team alive and you're a Zeratul, you're still not in good shape.
I mean, ultimately, that push for the boss ended up being a ruse. It's like, well, if you're not going to rotate up and try to press the issue, then we'll get the boss for free. But they effectively just baited Xteam up, left the boss behind entirely, and then just start blowing everybody up.
Paradise still with the plays, actually gets the kill onto the Leoric, but that was more of a moral victory at this point. That is going to be 3 Webweavers on core. That's not something you come back from. Paradise finally goes down, and eStar making sure they kill Paradise before the game actually ends. Not going to let him get away with the shenanigans forever. 1-0, eStar over Xteam.
We're seeing a different side of Xteam for sure, because they were in a very commanding position in that first set, and their backs were to the ropes pretty much from the beginning. I don't agree with just hanging back in the early part and do that have that 2-1-2 setup. It just allowed eStar to go around and just be bullies the whole way.
It's just not something you do on Tomb. It's just, you can't pull a strategy like that on Tomb the Spider Queen. It does not work that way. We're in between games, so I'm going to give a shout out to the follows Dilla _ and Darkens. Thank you for the follow. Again, I don't have the notifications up on stream because I don't want them interfering with the cast, but if you give them a follow, you will get a shout out in between games, or if you want to do anything else, you get a shout out in between games as well. Let's see if Udall responded to the Twitter message. Yeah. I mean, 2-2 is a great strat. We've seen it used to great effect on a number of maps, especially in the Chinese meta. They really like it, but just not on Tomb. Not on Tomb, and not leaving Zarya by herself. You don't want to leave Zarya by herself.
Well, I mean, it's just the idea, like, what's the best thing that could happen in that situation? You have 2 people in the top lane, 4 people rotate up on the other side. You have to back away. Those 4 people rotate down the mid. You have to back away. The 4 people that have faster wave clear than you, they're 4 people. So the only option you can do is just kind of stand there and watch this roving pack go in between lanes. I'm like...
Yeah. And in fairness, we have seen some unique laning strategies in different metas work on Tomb. For instance, during the Diablo Tron meta, we actually saw Diablo Tron, Jaina Tassadar, Sylvanas work out quite well. And we just had a 1-1-1 with Diablo and Tron as a roaming gang squad. We saw that a lot in the EU meta. It was very, very effective. One wave clear hero in each lane. Worked out very well. Srey has a composition that he really likes to play on Tomb the Spider Queen. It's Zeratul, Abathur are constantly roaming with the hat and the Mines and Eye rotations where you have Sylvanas and Zagara. It could be any really 2 push heroes, but Sylvanas top, Zagara bottom, Tassadar in mid to maintain vision. In late game, you use it to tempo out the early game by constantly killing people, forcing rotations on top of Mines. People have been low, so they die. The Abathur hat plus the Zeratul. And Void Prison plus Maw plus Wailing Arrow gives you a lot of late game potential where the enemy team's not doing damage, so it doesn't matter that you don't have a tank. Like, there's stuff that works, but that didn't work. 2 is one of my favorite maps. Might have spent probably more than 100, maybe more than like 80 hours studying Tomb replays and various odd compositions for Tomb in particular in professional level play. But standard is 4-1, and if you deviate from the 4-1, you got to have a really good reason, and I really don't think Xteam had a reason. Voice is not synchronized. You guys want us to only talk when the Chinese commentators are talking? I can pretend to nod at the same time. You guys can't see it, but it's there. They don't look surprised. It's kind of hard to read their facial expressions, just because we don't know what they're talking about. So, but they don't look surprised at the results of that. My ideal comp for Tomb? I mean, I'm a person who personally prefers macro comps. My ideal comp for Tomb would probably involve Azul. It's just a question of who you want to use to support the Azul, who you want to use as your soul laner. But I think there's enough diversity in drafts on Tomb that there's not an ideal comp. There's going to be questions of what the enemy team has, and what you need to take to deal with the enemy team. Because in my mind, for instance, and I'm getting a lot of flack for this, quick match is like not a real game mode in Heroes of the Storm. Quick match is something you play when you don't want to deal with the pressures of having to draft a real comp. But drafting is essential to enjoy the real, like, fun part of Heroes of the Storm. So you don't get your ideal comp in a good draft, unless the enemy team just like lets you get your ideal comp, in which case you probably out-drafted them. You get there's always some responsiveness. There's always some they banned the hero we really wanted. We're gonna take the second fiddle in that regard. But one of the reasons I love casting Gold League, and I've been trying to cast it for 6 months. Oh, QM players are real people. QM's just not a real game mode. There's a critical difference there. Is the Chinese often will pull out interesting strategies that they've worked on extensively, and it'll seem very surprising, but once you see it in practice, it makes total sense. And I like the way they think about the game. But we are going to get into... We are going to get into eStar versus Xteam Game 2 Gold Club World Championship Chinese Wildcard Qualifiers, the round robin, and it will be my personal favorite map, Infernal Shrines.
We saw Xteam do some work on this last set, but they're facing a different beast entirely in the form of eStar, so this is going to get interesting.
Yeah, and they will ban out Tychus, the first ban. For those of you who may not know this, eStar actually did take a practice series against Ballistics 3-2 in the boot camp leading up for this tournament. So Ballistics, the current world champions, and it was just one set. It was a practice set. Maybe Ballistics was practicing, experimenting with something. Maybe they weren't taking it 100% seriously. But if you can go 3-2 against Ballistics, you're a strong team. You are a world-class team. And we're actually seeing that against Xteam, and Xteam just doesn't quite know how to deal with it. EDC is going to be the ban out for eStar. This pressures Xteam to take Muradin, but if they do, they're giving up potentially Vala Tassadar, which, nope, Xteam's not falling for that trap. They're like, nope, we're going to get Vala, you can have Muradin, it's fine.
It's interesting to see the different dynamics of how these teams prioritize things. ETC, I don't think ETC's made it out of the first ban phase yet.
He has not, and he will not, given my current understanding of the Chinese meta. They are very, very afraid of the ease of Power Slide and the utility of a global hero with, the soak, the wave clear, the everything. And actually, this is something I speculated about last night. If you're not going to ban Tassadar, if you can't ban Tassadar because your second pick and they already picked up the Vala, you just take the Tassadar away. So Muradin Tassadar is going to be picked up for eStar. Tassadar enables a number of heroes. This means that eStar can pick up a lot of cool, different things. Xteam is going to take them Malfurion because Malfurion's largest weakness is the lack of a burst heal. So if you gave Malfurion over to eStar, that would just be a crazy, amazing support duo. They pretty much have to take it away, but this is going to leave the Vala relatively exposed, relatively fragile without a large burst heal to save her. And Xteam also going to pick up Johanna to make sure they can't get further tank locked going into the second ban phase.
I think that's a smart choice, especially seeing how highly prioritized the front line is in this meta. Tassadar pickup is 100% a denial of Vala. I wonder if we'll see Kerrigan show up back into the composition for eStar with them picking up Tassadar.
It's possible. We have seen Tassadar Kerrigan before. Zeratul going to be the ban out for eStar, and actually this is what I was going to say. Sonya, I think, would be preferable to Kerrigan because they have the Tassadar. She just basically becomes immortal with the Tassadar shields plus spinning on the shrines. But Sonya's the ban, and this is just purely because this is Infernal Shrines, and Sonya is one of the top 3 shrine babysitters in the game. But when you have a Tassadar, she instantly moves to the number 1 spot. Rhaegar.
What is...
Yeah, Rhaegar.
What's going on with Sonya's face?
That's just her face, man.
Why does she look like demonic in this? What is going on?
That's always been her
I
picture.
don't know.
That's literally always been her picture. eStar is going to pick up Rhaegar and Falstad's. It gives them a lot of shrine clear. They are going to this would be such an ideal comp for Illidan. The next team's like, you know what? That would be an ideal comp for Illidan, so let's not let you have Illidan. They do take Illidan away, and they are going to have Medivh Illidan. Medivh is going to be the burst support, essentially, that is going to patch Malfurion's weakness of not having a burst heal, allow Vala to play aggressively. And he starts like, okay, well, you banned Sonya, you took Illidan, I guess we'll take Kerrigan. It's not that Kerrigan is a bad pickup in this situation, it just wasn't the top one, but it was top 3, and the other 2 were taken away, so...
I think they could definitely get some work done with Kerrigan. That she is no consolation prize. she could single-handedly win this game for eStar. She's played properly, and they're a pretty decent team. They could do exactly that.
The amazing thing to me was how clockwork that draft was, because Xteam knew that Kerrigan was going to have to be the pickup there. It was pretty much the only remaining melee assassin that was going to be good on the map, and they picked Medivh knowing that they were going to be facing a Kerrigan, so now they have the denial of the Kerrigan combo. They can time those Force of Wills to deny the burst. And past the second ban phase, that draft was just clockwork. Both teams did the only obvious thing that they really had left, and that's a sign of not only experienced teams, but teams that are experienced in drafting against each other, specifically.
Yeah, the overall progression of that draft reminded me of the NA scene 8 months ago, where it was just we all know the order of the picks that are going to happen. It's just what kind of variation at the back end of it's going to be. It's very, very formulaic is what I'm seeing for the meta here.
And we are going to see eStar on the left-hand side of the map, Xteam on the right, and we're going to immediately go into a pause. Feels good.
Feels good, man. Feels amazing, man.
This is where we break out the tasteless line. You got to remember that technology is the vehicle of esports, and sometimes the vehicle breaks down. You just got to pull off the side of the road, take a minute, change the tire, and you'll get right back on your way. That's all that's going on right now. The game will be paused. We will be right back to it momentarily.
The obligatory 323 in the chat. Thank you, end of days. Appreciate that.
Royce got the food out of her oven and is now in a food coma. Don't eat too much, kids, especially right before 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, Royce, turn your oven off, Kappa.
There you go. This is why Hallian's the heart of the storm. He's always looking out for people. Nice, warmest, most generous guy in the scene.
Oh. What is this guy on the right doing?
He is getting super excited to distract people from the fact that we were in a 3-2-3 situation.
I'm like, what was going on? This is tough, man. I'm fading.
No, look, that guy's fishing. He's talking about his fly fishing habit. You can see he's like, this is how I cast when I go fly fishing, and then the fish just get reeled in. You can see he's doing the pantomime, distracting the audience. And both the other casters are like, why are you talking about fly fishing? This is Heroes of the Storm. No one who watches Heroes of the Storm wants to hear about your fly fishing hobby. And you see he's looking sad and he's blinking. He's like, oh, I understand. I am ashamed.
He's like, look, man, I'm passionate about this. I'm trying to share myself with the audience. Like, don't take this away from me. This is important. And they're like, no, man. No one cares about your flow. Like, come on. Breaking that man's heart. See, Chef on the stage.
Now he's smiling. He's like, yeah, but think about how awesome fly fishing really is. And he's selling them on it. They're starting to smile. They're like, oh, man, you know, he's right. Fly fishing actually is really cool.
It's like, I knew you guys believed.
All right, we are going to get back into the game here. No longer in a 3 situation. We are going to see Kerrigan just hanging out in the smoke right on the upper left right there. Looking for someone to overextend even a little tiny bit will instantly get that combo. But Medivh's literally going to sit on top of her. Be like, nope, you're not actually going to surprise anyone on my team. I'm going to stand on top of you. Kerrigan with the B step being like, oh my god, do you really have to do this? And Medivh's like, yep, I got to stand literally on top of you in bird form. Caw-caw! Caw-caw! And we're going to have pause number 2.
This is tough, man. Like, what the heck? The vehicle's breaking down, Cavalier.
It's fine. It just needs
Fly
it just
fishing
needs,
is
it just
really
needs an
cool,
oil
so no
change.
one
It just
ever-
needs an oil change. It's fine.
Then the guy on the left is like, well, this gives me an opportunity. The other day I was playing some charades, right? And then my grandmother walked in, and I was kind of already like, it got weird. And they don't want to make any eye contact with him now because it's like, dude. I don't hear about charades with your grandmother, man.
You can see he's actually not looking at them. He's intentionally looking at the camera. Notice how this guy's trying to look at them. He's like trying to have a conversation with them, and occasionally he looks back at the camera, remembers the camera's there. I think he's having a hard time striding that line between personal conversations with friends that he knows, like, you know, he knows these two off camera, talks to them off camera, but also the camera's there, and he keeps like forgetting it's there. He just can't quite get the tone right, and they're trying to help him out by staring fixedly at the camera or trying to remind him, but just not 100% there yet.
That woman looks so uncomfortable. Like, she does not want to hear about charades with your grandmother.
She gives him a glance, making sure he is in fact looking at her and not at the camera, while everyone else is looking at the camera. This guy just didn't get the memo. He didn't get to look at the camera memo.
I feel bad for that woman. She was just like, she doesn't want to be there. Radix says this girl kidnapped. Blink twice if you're in danger.
We are going to get back into the game. It did hiccup a little bit there for a second, but we're actually going to end up being fine. No one ended up dying off stream, thankfully. And we're actually going to see, wow, Rhaegar actually going to go for the increased size on his Lightning Shield level. And this is a talent we saw a lot right after Rhaegar's rework because his 16 talent was so incredibly busted in the amount of damage it did, but it got nerfed into the ground, and now we never see it ever, except for occasionally on Johanna, Chen, and Fat Illidan and Fat Illidan, Chen, just because it does allow those tiers can stick to targets. The increased radius actually doesn't matter. The increased damage can be significant. I'm very surprised to see it be picked up here, and I'm kind of wondering if he's going to pick up a 16 talent as well.
Did you see that vanishing act Malfurion pulled?
Yeah.
Malfurion got blown away.
I mean, Malfurion does that. Malfurion's just fragile. It's just, if he's out of position even a step, he's gonna just turn into a tree and leave. We're gonna have a third pause. We are gonna see Q build Kerrigan this time, by the way. So not gonna go for some awkward not Q build Kerrigan on Infernal Shrines. We're gonna cut back to the commentators here. We're getting like progressively more uncomfortable. It makes you wonder what's happening when they're not on camera, what conversations are exactly going on. Less hand gestures now. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
This girl, she just looks scared. Like she, I don't understand what's going on here. Like there is this genuine discomfort in her face. And that guy is just staring at the side of her head. Maybe there's like some weird love triangle going on. Like it's like Dawson's Creek.
90s references. It has become that time of the night, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start to have the 90s references. Next thing you know, we'll have Britney Spears and NSYNC, Saved by the Bell,
well,
Boy Meets World.
Well, for me, it's that time of the morning.
Most amazing part of me about Boy Meets World, by the way, the last episode, Corey is talking to his little brother, who somehow showed up in the last couple seasons fully grown. I didn't watch enough of the show. It just seemed like he came out of nowhere. And he was talking to him, and he's like, "You're gonna go out into the world, and you're gonna meet it. Boy meets world. Oh, now I get it." And I'm like, how long has this show been going on?
Damn.
Like, you literally only understood the title of the show in the last episode? That seems slightly implausible to me.
Hey man, we all get things at our own pace, even if it is the last episode, apparently. Oh. I'm telling you, Royce. Something happened there. Something happened.
We are going to come back here. eStar winning the race to 4. They're already having the Kerrigan start the shrine. And 4 is going to be the pickup. We are going to see the instant lock into that Q talent clean kill. This is going to carry an amazing shrine control. And Xteam's going to rotate down. They are only a little tiny bit behind. Kerrigan actually going in aggressively on this side of the Xteam side of the shrine, stealing those kills. We're going to see the Task Star shields coming down on her, allowing her to maintain. Siping Impact's going to heal her up so much. She's getting chunked, but it doesn't even matter. Look at how much she's healing. She's healed actually more than her entire health bar to this fight already, more than once. And that is just an insane amount of sustain. And maybe we are going to see a huge condemn, however. Force of Will allowing Illidan to go deep, get some free damage, and back out. We're not going to see any of the new talents, by the way. We are going to see Immolation and Friend or Foe. Standard talents. Not going to go for any of those new reworked talents for the potentially increased uptime on W. And Murden, second wind, gonna proc here, and then he's going to back out. It does take some damage, so it does retrigger Kerrigan deep again, but again with the jukes on Ravage. And on the last Ravage, secures the Punisher for her team and then goes down.
I mean, she was go for launch, man, and that ragdoll flew out of there. First Punisher is going to get picked up by eStar, but only gets a standard amount of value. Well, I keep forgetting I'm like 8 seconds ahead.
Standard amount of value. We're actually going to see Murden pick up Thunderburn. Wait, is that Thunderburn? No, is that Reverb? Did they changed the color icons on me again? They keep doing this with Murden's level 4 talents. It's driving me nuts. Because crowd control's green. So that is blue. That is going to be Reverb. That is the new talent that restores a better baseline version of the old Reverb level 1 talent that was kind of half rolled into his baseline. It's the first time we've actually seen it picked up in competitive play. I'm amazed that's not crowd control given the map. That is 100% a response to the Illidan Bala composition, trying to mitigate as much of that damage as possible for his team. And that's going to limit his personal survivability going into the late game because he won't get as many procs of healing static, but with double support that shouldn't be as big an issue. I'm really curious to see how it ends up working out for them, because this, again, is the first time I believe we've seen this talent picked up in a pro game since the rework.
I mean, when you're going up against heroes like Vala and Illidan, who very much their success lies on their auto attack damage, being able to slow that down gets you a lot of value. I mean, I get it. I don't think I've ever seen it like in this capacity in competitive play, but in this situation, I see why you do it.
And speaking of adaptation, we actually are going to see Illidan pick up Thirsting Blade, which was buffed and then nerfed right back to where it was on the PTR recently. So a small change in Illidan's standard build, not going to be going for that reflexive block. Skullcracker going to be a pickup from Murden. That is going to help a lot versus Illidan. An Illidan who's getting stunned like for a quarter of a second every second is just not quite as good as an Illidan who is free to auto attack at will and not get stunned by things. We're going to see the full multi-shot build coming out of Vala. Pretty standard builds across the board otherwise. And we're going to keep an eye on Medivh. We don't actually know for a fact when his Master Touch is finished. We'll have to figure it out from how low the cooldown is when he casts it. But if he's finished or not. We are going to see him maintaining vision of the enemy team. And again, Illidan going to set up on the shrine. Along with Malfurion, Moonburn is going to help him secure those last hits. But then Kerrigan's going to come in and just erase every single minion on the shrine instantaneously. Look at how ridiculous that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different facet for sure. We saw Kerrigan on this map earlier, but the Q build's a whole different thing.
They get her to half health, and then she's at full. They are going to go on top of that Vala that you secure the kill. And X-Men trying to do his best. They are actually going to get a kill onto Murden, the counter kill onto Murden. Trading Vala for Murden, I don't know if I would be comfortable doing that. But again, Kerrigan on Shrines. In the meanwhile, in the back, she just casually got 35 of the monsters. And they're forced to back out for the moment. But Kerrigan could probably get back on top of that and honestly steal 5 hits pretty easily with Q. And we are going to see her combo. She does end up getting, they do end up getting 4, 5. And eStar going to pick up the second Punisher as well.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, you can say. I mean, you can just cast 8 seconds in the past. Just say what you saw.
I'm trying to do that, but the cognitive function being up at 6 in the morning is starting to take a toll. It's tough.
We are going to see the Punisher get defended relatively easily. eStar not pushing aggressively despite the fact they did have level 10. They just sent Falstad to the top lane. And they're going for macro pressure at this point. They're trying to make sure all their lanes are soaked and that they do win the race to 13, win the race to 16. They're taking the long view of this game. They know they eventually will win. They have a solid lead. If they just maintain their lead, they'll be ahead in the game. And so far, Xteam has been completely unable to take shrines away from them. So eStar going to continue to push in with that strategy of soak all the lanes, fight on the shrines, win the shrines, and then if Xteam overextends or makes a mistake, then they'll get kills. But they're not going to take fights in an environment that's not the strongest for them. Beautiful combo onto Vala, but instant cleanse, and Vala's going to get out of there. Actually, takes almost no damage and gets healed up basically instantly. I'm going to say almost no damage is actually half her health bar, but her health bar is so small that that's almost no damage.
Yeah, that cleanse was perfectly timed, because if that stun was allowed to stand, I'm confident they'd be waiting to respawn right now.
10 is going to be picked up here for Xteam. Blessed Shield, Rain of Vengeance, Avatar, Metamorphosis, Tranquility, and Leyline Seal. So they're going to be trying to use Leyline Seal to split these fights in half, but Gust for the disengage is going to pretty much negate that value unless they can get the Leyline Seal on top of Falstad. And we're going to see Illidan doing Illidan things, taking these camps. We just see Tassadar keeping an eye on the camp, seeing if anyone can rotate there in time to get the cancel, but Murden's not going to be there in time, and the camp will go over for free to Xteam. And this is just going to be an all-out brawl in the bot lane. But nope, Gust for the disengage. And both teams just going to be like, okay, well, you burn Gust, that's fine. We're going to back off.
This should be an even talent tier fight for Xteam, at least. They want to try to make something happen before 13 gets picked up by eStar, because they would definitely be in a tough spot trying to take this down in talent.
Especially with that wall gone, if they lose this Punisher, it's pretty much going to guarantee the fort at a minimum. And if eStar got picked during the push, they could get the keep wall. And maybe if Xteam overextended a little bit the keep, but I don't think that's as likely. But definitely the fort at a minimum is going to be the consequence for losing this Punisher. We do see Falstad continuing to soak the mid lane. They are going to be able to pick up 13 before this Punisher phase is over. And we see Kerrigan sort of hanging out, waiting until that 13 happens. We're going to see Falstad fly in immediately. Kerrigan starting to steal some of the monsters. And Illidan going to try and get on top of the Kerrigan here, start to do some work. 13 is the pickup. Immediately, we're going to see Healing Static, Prescience, Earth Shield, Eviscerate, and the cooldown reduction talent for Falstad. Falstad does fly in. This is now a 5v5 down a talent here. Tranquility is going to be popped up. Portals are going to be a real thing. Everyone's going to get out just fine because of Medivh. And they're actually going to... Illidan's going so deep trying to get the kill onto the Tassadar, but Prescience is a good talent, does manage to survive. Ancestral's going to come down onto Murden. Roots for the disengage, and Xteam going to get out alive, but not going to get out with the win. They are only 3 away from picking up the Punisher, though, so they aggressively go back in there looking for the Condemn, but... Oh, and they do manage to get it. Johanna Condemn managed to group up 3 minions exactly, even though the Gust tried to force them back. And Xteam actually successfully picks up the Punisher despite tying the team fight, I guess. I mean, neither team really won or lost that fight because no one went down. But Xteam pulling out the closest thing they've had to a win all game off of that Punisher face.
And they really needed to do that. I mean, to be able to hang on as long as they were down the talent tier, come away with that. It could have gotten a lot worse. Like you said earlier, the wall was already down. So if they lost the team fight handily, that could have gotten out of hand pretty quick.
Could indeed. And we're actually going to see Johanna back off and do the double soak. They don't want to push in aggressively with that Punisher. Johanna is one of the few heroes on their team who actually can efficiently double soak. And everyone else has a slightly better escape, so it was probably a little bit better for her to get out of dodge anyway. And as a result, they were a full level behind, and now they're only half a level behind. That's actually a significant bit of progress for Xteam. And we are going to see Falstad almost go down. Illidan is on top of him. Tassadar Shields are doing his best. A Force of Will is going to be a thing that keeps him alive, and he does manage to dive onto a minion. He gets out of there, but he's not secure the kill on Falstad. And this is the benefit of having a Tassadar on your team. That shield on a 5-second cooldown just does so much healing. Illidan is going to go down, as is Malfurion, and eStar turning that fight decidedly in their favor.
I mean, Xteam has to be scratching their head right now. Like, you get Falstad down that low, you dive and commit that heavily to try to get that kill, and you come away losing 2 heroes? That's tough.
Just Murden in the backline things. Just Murden in the backline things. And they are going to aggressively push in. They're going to get the value here. This is one of the things that we see. We actually often miss amateur teams doing, but we always see professional teams do. As soon as they get any sort of tempo advantage from getting kills on a map, they immediately start sieging buildings. This gets you a lot of experience, but more importantly, it opens up the map. The bottom Punisher, they didn't know the bottom Punisher was going to be the next spawn. It was a 50-50 shot, but they got the bottom fort. They got 16, and they're going to be able to secure this Punisher for free, and the Punisher is going to be pushing directly onto a keep wall with no other buildings in the way. That is incredibly good for eStar because Xteam is going to feel pressured to contest this. Even though they shouldn't, they might make the mistake of doing so, and if they do, they're going to end up in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, losing those 2 heroes has cost them big time. Out of the last Punisher phase, they were pretty much even in experience, but now Xteam finds themselves down a full level in a talent tier, really tying their hands and taking a lot of options away to try to turn something around.
And 16 is going to be the pickup. Is going to be picked up, for eStar. We do see Given the Axe picked up from Murden. Pretty much 100% uptime on that with the Skullcracker talent, which he did pick up at 7. And we are going to see Electric. We are going to see it. We're going to see Rising Storm, the pickup at 16 for Rhaegar talent. We almost never see lately. We almost always see the Bite talent for that 5% damage, 5% healing, or the Slow Totem, the 90% slow for 1 second. But it looks like they're going to basically expand Kerrigan's Maelstrom to be even more effective by adding more lightning to it. I like it. Lightning on lightning.
I mean, I like the idea of it. The slow probably wouldn't have gotten in much value. Illidan can just use Friend or Foe. There's Vault from Vala. Iron Skin can get you out of there. And there are also portals to consider. So I can see why they'd go with a different option.
And Xteam demonstrating beautiful control of the Punisher here, actually baiting it directly into the mid keep. It is going to go onto the bottom tower, but they're getting extremely low very, very quickly. The entire bottom wall is already gone, and we're going to see Medivh Force of Will Illidan as he does get dived by the Punisher. Paradise is going to get healed up, and that Punisher is gone. It's worth noting that 16 is a huge power spike for Xteam. They are going to be able to pick up reabsorption, which means that half of the damage done to a Force of Will target is actually going to turn into healing. That's going to keep Illidan alive almost forever. 5-second cooldown on that with reabsorption is going to end up doing so much value. And you see Paradise finally bypassing the word and getting onto the back line. And it looks like Master's Touch, I believe, is finished based on the cooldown we're seeing out of Arcane Rift there. And Illidan is just going full ham. Our entire team is supporting him. We do see Johanna mounted up. She's looking for a Blessed Shield engage, potentially. But we are going to see Kerrigan dive in, holding the combo because she doesn't want to doubt on just Johanna, but Paradise ends up going down. Force of Will was not there. Medivh was a little too far away. They're going to be fighting in a tight corridor here, and that's not something you want to do versus a Kerrigan, but Leyline Seal is going to allow for the disengage. But Tau is going to pop down anyway. No, he does barely manage to get out. And only the Illidan going down, but a lot of heroics burn for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, the level 16 is a huge power spike for Xteam. I thought it might have helped Illidan out a little better than it did, because he got rocked.
It did, and actually reabsorption was not picked up from Medivh. I don't...
Hello?
That is the reduced cooldown talent, I believe. I think.
Misclick? I don't know, man. In the right hands, reabsorption's effectively like half an ancestral healing every 5 seconds. Like I don't know. You leave that
I
on the
don't know.
table.
That is enduring will, though. That is the cooldown reduction. It does allow force of will to be up more often. I don't agree with that decision. I like 110% do not agree with that decision. I think that should have been reabsorption. It would have done so much to keep the Illidan alive. It would have done so much to defeat the coordinated burst that eStar has been demonstrating time after time after time. And more than that, it would have helped a lot versus any carrying combos that get landed, because you hit that force of will and suddenly instead of doing damage, it actually they do 0 damage and do so much healing, because it's the ultimate counter to the burst that high level teams constantly practice doing, and I don't entirely understand what's going on, but whatever. Xteam is apparently happy with their choice, and Paradise is going to take a lot of damage, uses Friend or Foe to get out of there. He does have to just back out completely, the fight getting absolutely chunked. Reverb doing a ton of work on him. One of the few times we're going to see that level 4 talent get this much value. Force of Will for the deny, and we are going to see him start to heal up a little bit, but again, he gets erased. Imagine if he was at full health from reabsorption. Just imagine how that different that takedown would have looked. Leyline Seal coming down a little bit late, trying to split this fight in half. Blessed Shield comes out, but not going to be enough, and Vala is going to go down as well as Medivh. That ends up being a 3 for none, and 20 is picked up for eStar.
Every time Illidan dies past level 16, I'm sure he just looks over at that Medivh player and he just stares at him. Like, he doesn't say anything. He's just like, reabsorption, man. Like, I'm dead.
I guess it's longer duration, not shorter CD. You're right. But still, like, I don't understand why you would pick it over reabsorption. I just don't. And eStar going to do the correct thing here and just end the game. This is the kind of aggression we see out of the pro Chinese and Korean teams. As soon as they get a tiny advantage and there's a keep already down in the late game, they're just like, we can go core. We don't need an objective. We don't need to push our lanes. We don't need to get more keeps. We can just go on core and end the game. 2-0.
I mean, I know we're harping on this whole reabsorption thing, man, but that was like Medivh's slow clap moment. Like, that's when the value for him comes online and everything starts to click together, especially when Illidan's getting his attack speed slowed down. He's not able to self-sustain like he would in normal capacity. He's getting stunned by Skullcracker. I don't know how you leave that talent out. But I feel like that cost them any chance they had to turn that game around.
I am inclined to agree with you. We're going to switch back to our Chinese commentators. Ignore them for a second.